Almost can't believe we're at episode 5. But welcome back. Thanks for all the love. It's been a journey, and hopefully people are getting something out of what I'm sharing. Today I wanted to sit down and discuss my relationship with alcohol. Something that I think is very complex and has a lot of context behind it. I don't really know where I want to start with this, but I guess I'm kind of going to start just as a younger kid. My parents aren't really big drinkers. And it was tradition in our family to have your first drink with our dad. So me and my brother have both followed on with that. I remember my brother having his first beer with my dad at my grandfather's wake. I had my first beer when I was 17. Christmas Day, it was the last Christmas that we had at my grandmother's house in Elsternwick. So I wasn't really a big drinker. We didn't grow up in a house that, Dad would have a beer after work, or, Mum would have a glass of wine at dinner. It was very rare, almost rare for alcohol to be consumed. It wasn't until, we kind of all got a little bit older that we started to drink a bit and whatever. But yeah, I wasn't one that went behind my parents' back and drank much. It was just something that I didn't really do as a young kid. Ducko, can you move, please? Sit down. I remember having my first beer with my dad on Christmas Day, and my first beer was a Crownie. One of the great drops, as a few people would be able to attest to. And then I remember, like a week later, going with my older brother, to a house party for New Year's Eve, and I don't really remember getting drunk, but that was the first time I had more than like one or two drinks. And I sort of remember like going through year 12, starting to go out a bit and having more than 2 beers that my parents would give me, and having the free choice, and everything was new, and that was just kind of how it was. And it was pretty rare. It wasn't rare for people to go and get written off and vomit on themselves and do something silly because you were young. That's just kind of how it happened. And I think that as those years kind of went by, my behaviours didn't really change. From 18 through to like 24, it was about, going out every weekend and going and doing, this and that. And, we would go to various nightclubs, and it was just about, going out and getting absolutely shit-faced. I think that when things started to really change for me was when I was really starting to experience depression for the first time, and I really felt like alcohol was starting to have a really negative impact on my life. I really started to notice that my moods would be really bad. Not just the next day, not just a hangover, but a hangover emotionally would last half a week, 2 weeks. And I would be having a really rough trot for a long time after drinking, even if I was feeling kind of okay. And what I came to realize, and this was way later down the track, even after I'd quit smoking weed, I was still using alcohol as a mask for trying to cover up some of my pain. And I don't think that was a conscious choice. I don't think I was aware of what I was doing, but that's in context certainly what I was doing. Last year, I really felt like I lost control of my consumption of alcohol. So I had 4 separate instances last year where I became silly blackout drunk to a point where I was embarrassed and ashamed of my behavior. I vomited on myself. I'd been paralytic in gutters. I'd made a real fool of myself, and things came to a head on grand final day last year when I was about to pass out at like 6 p.m. after a day of drinking. And I remember waking up at 11 p.m. the Saturday night and having a discussion with Nat. And I think everyone's had these moments where they wake up on a Sunday and they go, "Oh, I'm never drinking again." But from the look in her eyes as to the way that I was behaving, I could tell that I couldn't keep going the way that I'm going. And something had to change. So I decided, that's it. No more. And I haven't touched alcohol since. It's now been over 400 days. And I'm pretty proud of that. Like, I really am, because I think a lot of people would succumb to the social pressures of needing to have a drink in certain situations to get through things. And I've been through situations where I felt a bit uncomfortable or felt weird or a bit socially anxious, and I've been able to feed myself to being able to almost do anything now sober, and it doesn't bother me, whether it's concerts, festivals, parties, weddings, all that sort of stuff. And it's been challenging, but I think that I needed this, because now I look back at some of the actions that I was doing when I was in my early 20s and thinking like, and this is with the context of knowing what I was going through and probably wasn't ready to admit yet, that I was masking then too. I was masking then, and it was really, really hard. I'd been through a couple of breakups and some pretty traumatic experiences, and that was just the easy way to deal with it. Me and my best mate Mitch, we would do all sorts of stuff, all sorts of silly stuff. One that sticks out in my mind that at the time was really funny, and now I look back on it, it makes me kind of sad, was that we were at either Orange Whip or Dakota, I can't quite remember which one, but then sitting in like sitting on the curb outside of Costco and like ripping my shirt off and going home in an Uber, maybe a taxi back then. I can't even remember, but like shirtless and thinking it was funny, like haha, look at this guy. But I was in deep crisis, man. Like I don't think I knew it, and it was so hard at the time. But you're just on that carousel of like, just going around and around and around, like, you live for the weekend. And, like the thing that was really concerning for me was that I got to the age of 27, 28, and I was still behaving like a child. Like I couldn't control myself, and that was the addiction, that was the trauma, that was the fact that I hadn't let myself grow up because I was still hurting. There's a lot of things that, like everyone tells like really good, like this was the best night ever. We went out, we got pissed, we did this, we did that. It's so funny. And I still have moments like that where you like, you know, go out with the boys, and like we had one night where we went to the wrestling and then to the Sporting Globe with the old work boys and Mitch, and there's heaps of those that you look back on and you're like, God, that's so funny. That was the funnest night ever, whatever. But now, like with a lot of context, like I can still see enjoyment into those sort of things, and they're great stories. But I think that there's a lot of behaviour that I look back on that I'm really ashamed about and kind of embarrassed of. Not kind of, I am embarrassed about, because what I found was that certainly as I got older, I would wake up on a Sunday or whatever day it was after drinking, and I would reflect on what was happening, and I wasn't feeling like the behavior that I was showing matched my values. And I'm going like, I don't like the person that I am when I'm drinking. I don't like the person that I'm becoming. I'm not happy with who I am when I drink, and something had to change. And that change was getting sober. I think that there's a lot of change that needs to happen still. I spoke in the previous episode about I don't know what it's going to be like when I decide to have a drink again. But I know that if I have a drink again, I know that for me the criteria will be that I have to be happy waking up the next day feeling like I'm the person that I want to be and I behaved the way that I wanted to. I don't want to fall into the habit of going back to being, a party animal and, getting loose and doing dumb shit. Because that's not me anymore. I need to be an adult. I want to be an adult. I want to be someone that if I could step outside of my body and look at myself, I would be proud of that person. And I want to be proud of myself. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I guess it's like the great unknown, right? Like you don't know until you know. There's only really one way to find out, and that's just to try. And maybe when I have a drink next year, maybe I'll have one and I won't like the person I am, and I'll go, nah, I can't do this ever again, and I'm sober for the rest of my life. There's every chance that that's a possibility. But I also think that having faith in myself that maybe I have learned. Maybe I, with the context, I understand that now I've got a lot of things to lose and things actually matter and I care a lot more about things. Maybe that's the realization that I need. I never really felt like before that I had things to lose. That might not be the case properly, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just going to be something that's going to be an interesting journey, and maybe maybe next year I'll come back with an update. But for now, I don't really know. I just know that my previous behaviors I'm not proud of, and I needed to make the change, and I'm really proud to sit here and say that I did, and I am, and I hope that in the future I can continue to do that. Yeah. I know I'm not the only one that struggles with this stuff, and we're just gonna keep working, man. Keep winning. As I said in episode 1, every day that you wake up, you keep winning. And this is a bit of a different battle. This isn't quite like fighting Mike Tyson like depression is, but to some people it may be. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming along on the journey, and I'm really proud to be sharing what I'm sharing. Yeah. Like and subscribe. Follow the show. Follow us on Instagram. Engage with the content. Recommend to a friend. If you're loving it, let me know. Let me know. I want to hear from you. So, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Trim Back Podcast.